are you doing today?
Hi, Victoria. I'm very well, thank you. Nice to see you.
Yes, nice to see you again. And we're bringing you back this time to talk about some music. So I have always had this idea of looking behind some sheet musics or sheet music books and give our audience a sort of a deeper look into what music they're committing themselves to. Christmas is about to come up in a corner, and you have released a holiday and Christmas collection. Let me see here. I have a digital copy, and you have printed out, I think, a paper copy as well. Look at that. And I had the good fortune to test some of the pieces in here, and I was really struck by the variety that is in here. And I think it's something that perhaps other audience would be interested in too, because when we think about Christmas music, it's always the same tunes. And I'm very excited to discover new tunes that we can play, not just in Christmas, but potentially all year round. So tell us about this collection. What are the inspirations, and what kind of music can we find in here?
Well, the inspiration probably came from many years of teaching Christmas tunes for 15 hours a week for the 10 weeks before Christmas, and it drove me nutty just doing the same old traditional carols again and again and again. So I started looking out for carols from around the world that were lesser known, and there are some stunningly beautiful carols out there that we don't hear on the radio, we don't hear in the shopping malls. And I think I personally break carols down into three things. You either get the commercial ones, which I'm not mad about unless they're sung by Bing Crosby or Frank Sinatra and somebody like that who's just got all the style and the amazing voice. And then you get the traditional ones that we hear in our shopping malls for far too many weeks before Christmas. And then you get the lesser known ones that have been around for many, many moons. And they really appeal to me. And I thought I would start introducing them to my students just to break the monotony of Jingle Bells or Away in a Manger for 15 hours a week before Christmas. And the first few years I did it, the students didn't react particularly promisingly. But when I did it the following year, they suddenly would go, "Oh, I've heard that one before. I like this one. Yes, maybe I'll play this one." And of course, it was a tune that I'd played them the year before. And we are comfortable with familiar music, so that makes it appealing to play. So I realized that I just had to play these tunes a bit more often for the students, and they would fall in love with them as well. So they were well and truly tricked by me, and it has ended up that these lesser known carols have turned out to be some of their favorite tunes. Now, I have to balance this up with the fact that one of my big concerns is that the younger generation don't get to hear the traditional carols too. We've got so many different influences, and at primary school here in New Zealand, they often get to hear contemporary and modern carols over the traditional ones. And it's all around not making a big deal about Christianity when we're so globally mixed and culturally mixed, which is fine. But I do think that we need to keep on with some of these traditions and include new traditional music from other parts of the world as well. So this book has got songs from Scotland, Sweden, America. We've got a New Zealand Christmas song which was written in the 80s, a couple of my own compositions, and some early English, French, all over the world songs.
There's a New Zealand song in there that was actually written quite recently, isn't it, relatively speaking?
Yes, there's a song called Ka Waiata Kia Maria, and it's sung quite often in church, just as a hymn, but it's a song for Mary and praise of Mary, written by Richard Puanaki. And around this time last year, maybe a little earlier, I inquired of Richard as to whether I'd be allowed to use this song for harp ensemble particularly. It's a really beautiful little piece. And he emailed me back and he said, yes, get creative with it, go for it. And it sat on the back burner for a while. And when I pulled it out again this year, I did my arrangement of it and I thought, right, I'll send it off to Richard. And I was devastated to find that he'd passed away in the meantime. And it really moved me, and I thought there's all the more reason to actually get this piece of music out there and heard by other people, because it's just stunning in its simplicity. And you can find it online. There's a beautiful version of it online, sung by a young girl, singing it in English. I think she was probably one of his students in his class, because he was a principal and a classroom teacher. So it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
And now that piece of music had reached Canada, and I have played it, and hopefully it will reach other parts of the world as well.
He deserves all the recognition that he can get. And I have to say too that it wasn't just written by Richard. He had a singing group, and in the truly traditional and folk music form, that music has been shaped by a group of people, not just one person. And that's real folk and world music. It's been shaped by a village.
So, what difficulty levels can we expect in this collection of music?
I would say that it ranges from around grade 3, so early intermediate, right the way through to grade 6, thereabouts, which is late intermediate. And there are things in each of the pieces that could be seen as rather challenging, like lever changes and harmonics. But these things, I've tried to work around them so that they're not too stressful, so you can still really enjoy the music.
What I like about the book when I was playing through it is that because there is a range of music, if I want to challenge myself, I can play some of the more difficult ones. And if I want to take it easy and just enjoy playing it, then I can pick some of the easier piece, which is always nice to have that variety.
Absolutely. And because they're lesser known carols in many cases, you can play them at any time of the year. Here in New Zealand, we don't have Christmas in the winter. So a song like In the Bleak Midwinter could be played at a winter celebration and not be out of place. So I think it raises the value of the book and of the music when you know you're not going to annoy people playing a really well-known Christmas carol in July.
And one of the techniques that you have used quite often in this book, I've noticed, is harmonics. And that could get quite tricky and scary for some harpists. What are some of your tips in getting a good harmonics?
I often say that you shouldn't try and practice harmonics too much at once, because they can be quite hard on your fingers. And a tip that I learned from Keziah Thomas just recently, and this surprises me because I've been playing the harp for over 30 years and I'm still picking up ways that I can make my harping easier, is when you're doing your right hand harmonic, make the stretch from where you stop the string up to your thumb as big as you can. Don't let it just be a lazy thumb. If you stretch that thumb higher, you're making the distance between where you're stopping the string and where you're playing the string much further, so you've got the better chance of making an even more brilliant sound. If it's closer, it's still there, but it's much clearer when it's further away. And the sneaky trick, and you probably can't see it on my harp, but I actually do have some of my harmonics dotted on my strings so that I can easily reach for them.
For those who are perhaps still early in their harp journey and want to play the piece, would that be okay for them to skip playing the harmonics and just play the notes as they're written?
Absolutely. You might want to explore playing them an octave higher and see if that complements the piece a bit more, or just play them where they're written. There's ways around everything. There's no fingering dictated in this book. I think by the time you get to an intermediate level of playing, you can make your own choices about fingering, because when you're a beginner, it's going to be far more obvious what to put where. But as you get further on and the music gets more challenging, you need to make those choices, what works with your shape of your hand, not mine.
And in terms of working out fingerings and whatnot, if you have any suggestions on resources that you can point our audience to, can you suggest some of them?
I really, really enjoyed working through Sylvia Wood's Fingering Fundamentals. And Sylvia was saying that when she did a test drive of this book, she gave it to 2 students who worked their way through it, and they felt that their sight reading had improved by the end of working through the Fingering Fundamentals book. And I just love that, because of course my other passion is sight reading as well. And why not get double the bang for your buck by doing one activity and improving on another too. And the really cool thing about Sylvia's book is I go through it about once a year. It's a bit of an annual pilgrimage. There's something to learn every time, and she offers many ways of doing the same scale or arrangement of notes. And it just reminds me again and again when I look at my own music, this is not the only way to play it. There's plenty of other ways to play it. And even though it might be written, certain fingering on certain music, if it works better another way with your fingers, then go for it.
I think one of the advantage of this particular book, it is a collection of harp music written by a harpist for harpists. So in many ways, when I was playing through your book, even though I have to think about the fingering, it's not a very onerous exercise. If that makes sense.
No. And one of the things that I think is really important to remember is that all of these pieces, apart from the ones that I wrote, are songs. And they were songs before they became harp tunes. So if you think about phrasing them as a singer would as you're playing through them, that makes it feel quite differently. And if there are a few extra notes or a few less notes in the melody when it's repeated, think back to what the words would be and whether they were broken up in a slightly different way to put a different emphasis on the words. And this is actually what you want to bring out in your music, that it's not the same and it's not formulated so strictly that it has to be exactly what's written there. And I would encourage you, if you know a slightly different version or a slightly different phrasing of that song, to try and bring it into your version of it and make it uniquely your own.
So if we want to play the music from this book with other people, such as in a duet or an ensemble, is that possible?
Some of the pieces are already featured in my 10 Carols for Harp book. There may be a second lot of 10 carols for two harps coming out that feature some arrangements from the Harp Moments book. So that's something that it might not be this Christmas. It might be something that you can buy in the new year, maybe a New Year Christmas present.
It's always a good time to buy sheet music, so that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And where can we purchase this book and listen to some of the music from this collection?
It's available on my harp shop, which is called Harp Music Online, and there will be some examples of. Well, I'll play some of the pieces that are from the book, but also there's going to be some of my students playing some of the pieces too later on, a little closer to Christmas. They're going to enter some of them for a performance competition that's coming up, and I think their versions of the music will be really lovely to see.
Well, thank you very much for telling us about your Harp Moments books, and I'm going to put the links to your web shop in the description and also in the video when you're describing it. And we're very excited to have you back, and I will probably invite you to come back and talk about some of your other music as well.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thanks.